Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Geekiverse. Long time coming. Super excited to be back chatting pop culture with everybody here. I'm Josiah Leroy. We missed you. It's been a long few months here, but we're excited to talk some Marvel as we get into a discussion on WandaVision, the first series in the MCU that we've had that's episodic, that isn't a movie. With me today, we've got a fresh face and a new face. First up, my right hand man here, Baba Yaga himself, Mr. John Fick. John, I missed you.
Man, it's so good to be back. It's been so long. Miss you too, brother. It just feels right. Just feels right to be back.
It does, and I can't wait to catch up on everything that we've missed here, and it's been a long time since we've talked MCU as well, so we're ready to jump back into that. Now we've got a third regular castmate here, a host. We recast Rashaun as it will, right? So we'll miss Rashaun Anderson on the show, but he's on to bigger and better just for the time being. I'm sure we'll see him again in our future. But for now, we've got a wonderful fresh face in John Tirado. And as you know, we run a very tight ship here at the Geekiverse, so we can't have two Johns. So we're going to call him JT. JT, welcome to the show. Thank you for doing this with us. Tell us your thoughts on joining the Geekiverse here and talking some WandaVision.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you both for kind of bringing me on to talk about this stuff. I'm truly a geek at heart, right? Like, I love all this stuff with anything Marvel or DC related, and especially always texting John of his thoughts every episode or movie that passes by, and he always watched it first, whatever movie came out, and then I'd be like, "Tell me, but don't tell me," and he would just say, "Amazing." And I'm not going to tell you, and so definitely excited. I feel like I have some big shoes to fill with Rashaun, and like you said, stepping away and. A little bit, no, but yeah, it's exciting. I'm all about the podcast stuff, and I love to talk about it. So I'm definitely ready to go forward into this thing and get it going.
Well, we are excited to have you, and the real reason Rashaun is gone is not because he moved off, to a different coast or anything, but it's because he called me a buffoon for saying that I like Iron Man 3. So there's that. Yes, nothing could be more truthful, which is also a lie. So we're getting back into the swing of things here. If you recall, we did this in podcast form, in video form, MCU Review. We did an episode dedicated to each MCU movie. We wrapped up our favorite moments from it. We watched the initial trailer together. We just went through the motions with the bullet points. And at the very end of each episode, we would rank where we thought that movie would be in the up-to-date standings for the MCU. That being said, we've got a little bit of a change here. We want to bring everybody back in and refresh and see where we stood when we left off, which was July. So it's been a good long time now. But John, do you want to bring up the rankings for what we've got? We've watched 10 movies so far.
We did, yeah. So I've got them up here so the people at home can see them. So I'll go through them for the audio listeners and for you guys who can't see them here too. So number 1, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2, we've got The Avengers. Number 3, we've got Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Number 4, we've got Iron Man. Number 5, Iron Man 3. Number 6, Iron Man 2. Number 7, Captain America, the First Avenger. Number 8, Thor. Number 9, Thor, the Dark World. And then number 23, The Incredible Hulk.
It's 100% accurate, and I don't even think anyone could ever argue with that list. I think it's perfect so far. Just saying.
It's pretty perfect.
Whoa. JT, remember what happened to Rashaun? So with the ranking so far, how we did it, if you haven't watched or listened so far, is we'd vote all basically the three of us. We'd say the movie, does it go here? Does it go here? Does it go higher? And we agree on, or mostly 2/3 of us agree on where it should sit in those rankings. Now, we are not going to rank WandaVision. We're going to just have a nice discussion on where the series was. It wrapped up a few weeks back. We think that's a nice break-in. But that being said, we are going to bring back the snap feature. So Rashaun's one snap that he did before he left the show is going to factor into this a little bit. John, do you want to catch us up on what the snap is, how it looks, and then what I think we're going to propose to JT here as a new castmate, a showing of goodwill, if you will.
Exactly. We're going to offer a little bit
of a bad idea.
So one of our features of the show is that we all get 3 Thanos snaps, 3 Infinity Gauntlet snaps. And what that means is at any point in any episode, you can use one of your 3 snaps if you disagree where two touching movies on the list lie. So in this example, Iron Man is number 5 and Iron Man 3 is number 5 and Iron Man 2 is number 6. If I so strongly hate where those two things lie, I can use my snap and say, I think Iron Man 2 needs to be ahead of Iron Man 3. Now, it doesn't stop there. You don't instantly get it. We put up a poll. If you use one of your snaps, you need the people to support you. We put up a poll on our Twitter account, twitter.com/the_Geekiverse. That poll will go up. It will be up for 3 days, starting the day that episode posts. If the people agree, we're not gonna show any hands. The poll will simply say which is a better movie, Iron Man 3 or Iron Man 2. If the people agree with the person who used their snap, it gets changed. So Rashaun used one of his snaps when he was on the show, and he used on that exact same example. He used his snap to argue that Iron Man 2 was better than Iron Man 3. I think that must make sense. I think that's what he must have done. He lost because it doesn't matter because he's a clown. That's why he's gone. So he wasted a snap. Now we're bringing John on halfway through here. We don't want him to be shorthanded. We don't want him coming in with 2 snaps. He didn't really use the first one. We don't really have to we don't really have to fix Rashawn's because it didn't matter anyways. He didn't win it. So what we're gonna do?
It was a waste.
It was a waste. We're gonna give John a chance to immediately use that wasted snap. So we're not gonna do it now. At the end of the episode, John, take a look at the list. Think about it. You get a chance to attempt to change 2 of these movies. We're going to do it the same way. Once this episode posts, I believe we're going to try to post it tomorrow, which will be, March 23rd. That poll will be up for 3 days, and whatever John chooses to attempt to ruin on our list, you guys can fight for.
I do like that this has become our list, kind of, John. You know,
Yeah.
like not our list, like our list, the two of us.
It's our list.
So
For
yeah,
now.
JT, yeah, you've got oh boy, chills. You do have a tall task ahead of you, in terms of where this stands, but you have an extraordinary opportunity if there's something on our list that you do want to change. Rashaun put all his eggs in that basket for switching the Iron Man sequels, which I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, most people feel this, like if you dislike 2, you usually dislike 3.
Yeah.
Or if you like them, you like both.
Nobody's passionate either way about those 2 films. It's either you like them both, you dislike them both. Yeah, I agree.
I think that's usually where you stand. So that was almost like a moot point to me, but it doesn't matter because it just didn't work. He's gone. He got snapped.
So what was the general consensus from Rashaun as far as not liking 3? So my only concern, I guess, or issue with 3 for myself was 110% a filler movie, right? Like there wasn't really anything MCU total canon related in it.
Tony Stark's PTSD. I mean, that plays a pretty big role in.
JT, I'm going to have to refer you to our episode on Iron Man 3.
I didn't hate it. I think it is better than 2. But I just,
Rashaun is very salty towards both movies, and even saltier because I think I'm definitely minority here. I said if I had ranked the 3 Iron Man movies, it would be Iron Man 3, 2, and 1. Yeah,
wow.
Right, which is the general expression there. But I stand by it. I think so, John. If I'm not wrong, you went 1, 3, 2.
Yeah, but 2 and 3 are like close. I mean, there's not a bad Iron Man movie. I said that, and when we did our little intro video to coming back to the Geekiverse, that's my hill I'll die on. There's no bad Iron Man movie.
I wouldn't be mad with any of it.
Yeah.
But it bothers people that I like 3 so much.
I know.
Yeah, I think I'm with John. They definitely can mix around pretty good for sure.
Yeah.
All right, JT. I think this is going to work out. This is good. So think about it as we get through our WandaVision discussion. You've got our list. If there's something that you want to take to the masses here, we'll visit that at the end of this episode. So stay tuned to it. Good. All right, good stuff.
Worth mentioning, we're only talking WandaVision today. We're not hopping back into the ranking the movies. We're gonna pick up next week or next episode. I believe we're doing Ant-Man. That'll be our required viewing. We're not gonna do a new film today. We're just kind of getting back into this, and we're gonna talk WandaVision because it just happened. So.
Right. Yes, well said. With that being said, why don't we jump right into WandaVision? Overall thoughts on this very first MCU episodic series. It was tough. Last year was the first year that the calendar year we went without an MCU movie since 2009, I believe. You had 2008 where you launched with Iron Man and Incredible Hulk, and then you didn't get anything again until 2010, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a good long while since we've had nothing, let alone anything less than 2 movies. Obviously, these have been so popular and so well done for the most part. So that being said, anticipation was high for WandaVision. We finally got it. Not that it was like delayed or far off or anything, but we just wanted more Marvel content. It's been a while. So let's take just kind of a stroll through early impressions, or I guess your thoughts at the surface of what you liked about the 8 episodes, 9 episodes, 8 episodes, 9. I don't know, 8 or 9 episodes. Why don't we start with John? What worked for WandaVision for you?
For me, it all worked. I was in the mindset that I knew we were getting something weird, and I knew we were getting something different, and I kind of understood the premise already, so I didn't have to. I had a year and a half of the announcement to be sold on that, to get excited about Scarlet Witch making whatever kind of crazy world she's making and living these fantasies. And guess what? It's going to be based on sitcoms. It's going to be very, very weird. I was already sold on that, so I wasn't. I know that there are a few people, maybe some more casual Marvel fans, who kind of went into this blind and didn't know that was going to be what was going on. And some of the early impressions that I heard were a little bit negative, were those kind of people who just didn't really know. They didn't have a year and a half to, or however long it's been since announced, to kind of get prepared for what we were about to get. Again, I expected that. I loved it. I thought it was an absolute phenomenal show. I thought it was incredible. The only thing that I would say is that the ending was just good. It wasn't offensive. It certainly wasn't bad. It just didn't live up to what the whole show, WandaVision, it asked so many questions. There was so much mystery. There was something around every corner. We always wanted answers, and we got answers, but they were just kind of the most predictable ones we could have gotten. We all kind of maybe wanted a little bit more, maybe a couple more cameos, a couple more twists. We were all kind of talking about, like, who's the big bad? Well, we know Agatha's involved. Like, she's definitely involved, but is there somebody more? Is it Mephisto? We all kind of went wild with fan theories and, got pumped up, and it didn't maybe hit on that 10 or 11 like we were hoping for, but the finale still hit like an 8 or a 9 for me. So that was kind of the only thing about WandaVision that, like, wasn't phenomenal for me. The ending was just good. Everything else, man, the style, the weirdness, the acting, so cool. Loved WandaVision.
I think those are all real good points. We, for the most part, if people were paying attention, you knew exactly what the series was going to be. You knew it was going to be out there. They touted it as being weird, having kind of these horror elements to it, which it did. And then also, like, paying homage to these famous sitcoms over the decades, which, you all wrap it in, and it's very, very unique for anything we've gotten really in superhero movies in general recently, let alone the MCU.
For sure.
And you also mentioned kind of the finale where, maybe it didn't hit the high note that we were all hoping, but this is a new dynamic for the MCU where it's episodic and we're not having that huge climax in one portion, in one movie. So there was something to be said for that. Maybe a learning curve along the way, but if this is the start, like, we're in really good shape, I think.
We are. I do want to clarify that one point I made that people maybe didn't really know about it. I have friends who actually texted me after because the first 3 episodes posted at once, right? And those were all very much sitcom episodes. Or wait, did they all post at once? No, it was all weekly, right?
The first two.
The first
yep.
2 posted. Okay.
First 2 posted right away.
At once. And they were both like 50s and 60s sitcoms. And I had friends who were like, man, this is weird. I'm not sure I'm done with this. And they didn't expect it because they didn't have that mindset. Like, more casual Marvel fans, like a couple of buddies from work who just love the big spectacle movies, watch WandaVision, and I got those reactions like, man, this is weird. This is just an old sitcom.
Oh, I think that's why they did not sorry to interrupt you, but that's why they did the 2 right away, right? They gave as much as they could, without going too far into it. They wanted to be a weekly thing, kind of get people back into that weekly mindset of watching a show every week with the family, and honestly, I loved it. It was just such a drastic change of pace that you were just like, for me as like a geek, if you call it, right, where you're just like really loving the different, I guess, mindset that came in with it. And the 2 biggest things for me, and I think a lot of people, including myself, ruined it in the sense of giving it that 10 or 11 with the theories that you mentioned, John.
For sure.
Like, I'm every week I'm talking about, oh, it's Mephisto for sure, or no, it's Nightmare. Oh, did you see that? It could have been this, or oh, look, the X-Men universe is here now because Quicksilver popped up.
Yeah.
The theories are good, But when you focus, or I think the purpose of the whole series itself was to not depend on those theories, not depend on these other outside cameos. It was its own story that had to hold within itself, right? And that's the beauty of it. I think that's what really made me love the show itself, is that they didn't depend on anything else. No Doctor Strange cameo, no help from the outside. A very small facet of Sword was involved. I like that they didn't depend on the larger universe to tell their story. That was kind of my big thing with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, JT. I think they found a lot of balance throughout this, where it really was able to kind of blossom on its own, yet it was relying on a strong performance from Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. Like, it was I was giddy just seeing them again. Like,
Yes.
I felt like in a strange way, this was like almost pandemic related. Like, right, you see that friend or family member you haven't seen in such a long time. Obviously that's on a higher scale.
Yeah.
But with this, it was like, oh my gosh, like I was used to seeing you every few months or hearing about you kind of, and it's been a while. And
I felt that way just at the Marvel opening crawl when you first got that Marvel Studios logo. I'm like, oh my god, it's been so long.
Dude, I think I texted you. I was late to the show. I didn't watch it within the first few days. It took me a bit to jump into it. Nevertheless, it was that first week. But I did text John and go, oh man, when that Marvel logo hit, it hit hard. It was like, people joke about like it'll be like that first hug, post pandemic kind of thing, if you will. That's exactly what it felt like to me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I missed you so bad. So you know what? I liked the also, this worked for me very well with Mandalorian. I like the weekly format. I know a lot of people kind of get pissed at it and say, I want it all at once. I want to binge it all at once. And to those people, I say, well, just wait 8 or 9 weeks, and then you can do that.
That's a tough ask with social media now, especially with something.
Yeah, I'm being a smart ass when I say it. I know.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I love the thought of it, and maybe it's just because it's almost like a personal thing. Where if this series dropped all at once, you guys would have watched it far ahead of me. Whereas because it's episodic, I feel like I can keep up. And that, again, that's a personal thing, but I kind of like that they do that. And it's a smart business move. We talked about that too on past Geekiverse shows, but it works for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's 8 weeks of hype instead of one 2 hour, one little sit down. I mean, you think about like maybe something like Avengers Endgame is not a good example, but any other just Marvel movie that releases throughout the entire MCU, you get that weekend of pop. And then you're talking about it for like maybe a week, but then like it just becomes, the past. When you've got these weekly tentpole moments every freaking Friday, we're there, we're all in it together. Like, stay off social media until you can watch it. Hide your group chats so nobody spoils it, and then everybody watches it, and you have those conversations, and you get that for 8 weeks straight. It's so cool.
I love that hype, and I think a lot of businesses, or Marvel Studios specifically, depend on that, right? Like, they love the fact that, what is it? Feige said, I want you guys to have something to watch every week for the rest of the year. Like, that's what he said in the beginning, before WandaVision came out. Like, I love that. Give me, even if it's behind the scenes stuff, like, just to have some kind of new Marvel content is huge. And as far as keeping the hype up, I mean, I every Thursday night, I'm sitting like it's Christmas morning the next day, like, oh, I'm so ready for this. Like, it's gonna, well, again, because a little bit based on theories and whatnot, right? But at the same time, just being excited for the episode, new content, and I never thought I'd be as, and I said the same thing about Falcon and Winter Soldier, as interested in Scarlet Witch's and Vision's story than I was now. Like, they slowly built it through a lot of the movies, obviously starting with
Ultron.
Ultron, yes. They slowly built their little love story, and then I didn't think I'd actually enjoy it as much as I did. You know what I mean? And seeing how all of it was connected, obviously in different episodes, was just awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job with that. There was a wonderful chemistry that was evident in the movies, but it really was on display with, obviously, they being the primary focus of this series.
Their range was amazing. I mean, I didn't think, I knew Paul Bettany was a good actor, and I heard Elizabeth Olsen, was good as well, but the range of which they did their job, their job well in the first 3, 4, 5 episodes. I'm like, I never thought I Love Lucy, but here I am jumping around like I do. Like, I never thought that would ever happen. You know what I mean?
Yep, I feel you.
And I think that was the purpose. I mean, they definitely showed what they're capable of, and they're probably going to get millions of movies to come, just because of what they showed. So,
yeah, they, I think, what worked so well for me with WandaVision was not just that, the series was back, that Marvel came back with this, because like I said, it's been a year or so, but that it was so dynamic week to week, and it still all fit within the constraints of like a single story. So it wasn't like a greatest hits collection necessarily, even though that was a little bit what it was to, for the first X amount of weeks. It worked. It was all building towards the same thing. And the sitcom dynamic, my goodness, they absolutely nailed, kind of
all of it,
paying respect and kind of making fun of it as well, like tongue in cheek. Some of the tropes that you feel from the older decades that aren't so common nowadays, or things have changed. It was a beautiful way. There was a lot of attention to detail with this. Like I know that was a focus. It wasn't just like, hey, we're gonna like make this feel like it was from the 1950s. Like they studied those era shows to make sure that they felt authentic, and I thought that came through.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the making of WandaVision, I think it's called Assembled. I think that's the name of the show on Disney Plus. It's an hour long. It's super, super cool. They go deep dive into those inspirations and how to get into character, and it's a really cool watch. One other thing I wanted to say about the format, it was so nice knowing, and I don't even know if they announced this or if it was just an expectation. We never had to guess or wonder if there was a second season. We just knew this was going to wrap up, and I often hate that about TV shows. Like, for example, I'm watching a show on Apple TV Plus right now called Servant. When that show first came out, I'm like, oh my god, this premise is so good. Like, I hope it just pays off with one season, and it didn't. And guess what? Season 2 just ended, and there's going to be a season 3. I'm like, no, just give me the answers. You have such a good premise. Don't like string it along for dollars or for whatever. What are you doing it for? We knew WandaVision was going to have a beginning and end. We never expected like, oh, season 2. Even like The Mandalorian sort of had that. I don't think any of us knew going into The Mandalorian that there was going to be a season 2. For whatever reason, these Marvel shows, like, I think we all kind of just expect this to be a one and done story. And that was very nice to know that in week 8 I was going to get a finale, because a lot of TV shows often don't do that.
Well, that's the beauty of Marvel Studios. They're so
tight.
You said a lot. You said a lot of people or a lot of other shows chasing money, and they don't have to do that, right? They know that what they give out, no matter what's going to get what they need out of it, and they're willing to invest in all these shows. Clearly, it seems like they're leaning more towards the series than the movies these days with all these new series coming out.
Just look at what they're doing with Black Widow. I mean, they could be making tons of money by putting that thing out for a split release on Disney Plus for $30 and a theatrical release, but they're committing to their vision. They want to put that in, just theaters. So
gotta respect it, definitely.
Yeah, and you know what? In some ways, with regards to the series that we have, whether it's WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki, I think in a way we're all just happy to like see these characters again, because these are not like brand new characters that we're just seeing for the first time and need to be established in these series, which Marvel has done very well. Every new movie, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time or Ant-Man for the first time in the MCU, like they did a wonderful job building them up as individual characters or entities before bringing them into the team up movies. With these, this is almost like a victory lap for some of these characters. Like, yes. I can't believe we're seeing Loki again. I kind of can't believe that. That's awesome that we're going to see Tom Hiddleston do that in just a few short months. I thought once we got past Infinity War and Endgame, that was it. And it was fine. You know what? We saw him in a number of movies and he was great. But now we get to see him in his own series. Are you kidding me? It's freaking awesome.
And they're not doing it the cheap way where he's not really dead. For what we know, this is going to be like a spinoff. This is an Endgame when he grabs a Tesseract and just the Tesseract and just flies off into nowhere. This is that story. So they don't have to undo his death again to make it cheap. So it's nice to have that finality, but also see more Tom Hiddleston.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. I know when Loki was talked about. When it was rumored, that we were all just like, yeah, okay, not happening. Like that Tom Hiddleston's not coming. This is going to be something quick. It'll be some sort of spin-off. Yep. Well, here we are, and Tom Hiddleston starring in it, and it's going to be awesome.
I'm definitely it's probably one of my more hyped ones for the year, for sure.
They've given me no reason to think otherwise. Let's get into maybe just favorite, if you've got a favorite episode or a favorite callback, favorite aesthetic, whatever it might be. I'm actually going to go just with JT on this one because pre-show, I know he had one in mind. JT, take us through maybe what was your favorite episode and just a few quick bullet points on it.
Yeah. So, episode 7, I'll kind of dive into it so people are privy to exactly what that was. It was almost like the pre-closure to the closure of the series, like John was mentioning, right? It was, what the question that everybody had was, why is Wanda doing this? You know,
Hold on,
there were
real
theories.
That's 8. There are 9 episodes. I think we said multiple
There are
times.
9. Okay.
I'm on Disney Plus just to pull it up to see what my favorite episode was.
Yeah.
Your favorite one is the one where she goes back with Agatha and looks at her past,
Correct.
right? That is episode 9.
Yes.
Or that is episode 8.
Okay.
That is the penultimate episode. Episode 9 is titled the series finale.
Okay. Got you. So definitely episode 8 then, where they really dove into the why. So for me, I'm the type that, and I hate it because it kind of ruined my experience a little bit. I still love the whole series, obviously, but the theories and stuff, right? Like, why is she doing this? Who's controlling her? You've got to be one of these villains out here that's, you know, that we're all expecting to pop up at some point. I love the fact that, you know, they go back into her past in Sokovia, and you look, and the one happiness that she had in her life was watching those very sitcoms she brought to reality, right? You know, with her family, watching all the 50s, 60s, 70s sitcoms, and to see that kind of all come together was just awesome. I mean, as I'm watching it, I'm just like, I'm looking at my brother. I'm like, this is why they did. This is why she's doing. Wait, I'm like, no. Mephisto's in the corner right there. I see him. Look, he saw that lamp and moved. And I'm just saying all this crazy shit. He's just like, oh. No, bro. This is the story. It's just, my brother's a realist and I'm not. But anyway, so yeah, 100%. I just, I was the beauty of it, right? I never thought I'd actually be as enamored with the story, the background. I never thought we even get this deep into the characters themselves, and I think that we're gonna get a lot of that with these series coming. Just to see that closure and her see her past and see her good moment with Vision, and what made her happy as well. In the end, we all kind of, go into the post-credit scene of WandaVision. I think of episode 9, obviously, she's probably going to be the villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Purposely, I think this is.
I don't know if
I'd like to get into that. I want you, obviously, I definitely want to talk about that because I have, again, I almost want to give myself a no more theories role because I ruined.
I was gonna say, I
you know what I mean?
that's
you kind of have to like
that's one of those theories that like. It's there. I see it. I just don't think they actually make her a villain. She is a villain. She's done some pretty messed up things in WandaVision. I get it. I just don't think they ever go full, okay, she is the actual big bad in Doctor Strange. I think it's going to be more of like a team up where, like, who knows? Right. I could be wrong. I just don't fully buy it.
Definitely. And like that being my favorite episode, but overall the concept of the show, like my biggest takeaway, I guess, if you want to call it, is kind of what John said. Like, she 110% is wrong for what she did in WandaVision. Like, she gets no pass because she's going through depression, right? But at the same time, it tells a story of someone who is going through depression and what effects it can have on you. Obviously, being a superhero, superpower is going to destroy everything around you, but just a normal person and what they go through mentally, that anybody can go through it. And we see a lot of those realities, and Josiah, I don't think you've watched episode 1 of Falcon yet, but we see a lot of the reality of being just the human part of a hero in that episode, in that series as well. So it's interesting to see where the angles are coming from it, and I definitely enjoyed it.
It does a good job of making us feel what they're feeling to a degree, or almost humanizing a superhero, right?
Yes. Yes.
So JT, I love all those points. I'm gonna just jump into mine, John, real quick. So my favorite episode, go figure, is episode 7, which is also my favorite episode in another series, if you will. But this one is called Breaking the Fourth Wall. So I'm such a sucker for anything that could tie into The Office at all, even though I think this was maybe more Modern Family. But
there's a lot of Office though. It was there.
Yes, like enough to keep me just giddy, like totally giddy the whole episode. I think Elizabeth Olsen was so good as essentially a Modern Family character. I could not, like, it was one of my favorite things of the whole series was how she talked to the camera, how she was so like sarcastic at times, and she'd make those faces. It was such a good parody. And of course I love the intro to that episode. Like, I was just geeking out hardcore when they're basically recreating the Office intro, but for WandaVision. Like, my gosh, I could talk about it all day. But
shout out to all the intros, not just like the visuals and the way they stylized them. All of the original songs that were written for these intros are so good, like incredible.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely awesome. Like there's art to all of that, and I enjoy a good parody like no one's business.
Yep.
There was that, and then I do want to just maybe mention this as one of my favorite aesthetics throughout. I think you guys will agree. I adored all of the old school commercials that threw in Easter eggs to the prior MCU stuff. I thought all of that was just wonderful, whether it was Stark or I know some of the references are escaping me as I'm sitting here talking about
Some
it.
Hydra
But
stuff.
that was yep, that was a constant throughout, and it kind of makes you sit back and think a little bit about like, oh gosh, what is this? But then you're like, oh, it makes sense. Like if Wanda is going through and essentially creating these sitcoms, where is she pulling these references from?
Her
Things
traumas.
she knows.
Yeah, past traumas.
Exactly.
Right.
So I thought that was just brilliant as well. Couldn't be more excited about all of that. Every time, sometimes that would be like not my favorite part of the episode, but up there, and I'd be like, oh, what's gonna be the Easter egg reference?
It was a great
this week?
surprise. It's like everything's going smoothly. It's like, oh, commercial time. Awesome.
Yeah, totally awesome. John, what about you? What was your favorite episode of the series?
I'll be honest, I don't really like this. Doesn't feel like a traditional TV show to me where I have a favorite episode. I'll pick one, and it's kind of like a cop out. I'm gonna pick episode 6, which is all new Halloween Spooktacular. 1, because I love Halloween versions of episodes. I love Halloween in general. 2, because I love that early 2000s Malcolm in the Middle opening. That was so awesome and so nostalgic for me. That was just super, super cool. The costumes in the Halloween episode were awesome. To see like the original, Scarlet Witch costume and Vision doing his old get up, and when he's starting to kind of figure out what's going on, like, oh, it was the only outfit in my closet, so I had no choice. Also, I was kind of just scrubbing through, and it reminded me that was the episode where they really focused on both the sitcom and the outside world. So this is episode 6. The first 3 were like fully sitcom. Episode 4 was fully outside world. Episode 5 was back to fully sitcom. Episode 6 is the episode where it's like every 10 minutes you're hanging out with Wanda and Vision and figuring out what's going on there, and Pietro's in there too, which is really cool because we still didn't know what was going on with Pietro yet. And then you're out in Shield, and you're seeing that drama with Darcy and with Jimmy Woo and I forgot the director's name.
Hayward.
Yeah, Director Hayward, and you're thinking about that kind of stuff. So that was an awesome balance between those two things. So I mean, for me, the series kind of just is a whole. It's just I had to go. I had to pull up the episodes to even kind of like separate them in my mind because I just see it all together.
I was mostly on the same boat where they blended together in a nice way, despite being unique. But obviously, if there's an office, that's my tiebreaker.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just good stuff around. I do love the dynamic with the Halloween stuff. Kind of seeing the Easter eggs on who was dressing as what character, even in the background from some of the classic Marvel comics. And I'm sure longtime fans of the comics would pick up on more than even just I would, who really got into all of this when the MCU became a thing. So good stuff all around there. I do want to get into just a quick bullet point on things that maybe if there's anything we thought should be better or something to improve upon. I'd love to get to that. So think about that for a second. But I do want to mention here on MCU Reviewed, our partners over at 26 Shirts. Del Reed is a frequent fourth seat on this show, and he'll be back for some of our episodes upcoming. We're thrilled that he wants to do this with us as he did prior. But 26 Shirts, if you don't know about them, every 2 weeks they release a new limited edition t-shirt. Every shirt purchase results in a donation to a worthy cause. After the 2 weeks is up, the shirt is quote unquote retired. A new design was released, and a new family benefits from your fandom. There have been many shirts over the years that have just been wonderful from them. As I mentioned, all these go to support families in need, typically medically related. So a good chunk of your money from that t-shirt goes right to that family. Last time we talked, I believe we were talking around 800,000 or so in terms of lifetime dollars raised for these families. As of today, they're over $1 million. They're at $1,084,491 to date, and they have been around since I believe 2014. So that's incredible. That is over $1 million direct to these families in need. Incredible stuff by Del and the team at 26 Shirts. We're very, very proud to not just even know them, but to have Dell on the show and to have them as sponsors. So again, that's 26shirts.com. Go check out. They don't just have sports related shirts. They do a lot of geeky themed t-shirts, which I realize as life goes on, I feel like every year more and more I remove t-shirts that are not 26 shirts from my closet, and it just ends up being more and more 26 shirts. That is not an exaggeration. It just happens. And it's a problem, because Dell knows that I'm going to buy every Star Wars parody t-shirt that he makes. So the money's going to a good cause. So I'm all about it. Dell will be back with us, as I mentioned, on future episodes of MCU Reviewed. So, guys, getting back to WandaVision here, what is there anything that was lacking for you? Something that we didn't maybe cover that you thought that could be better in this series, or maybe in how the MCU conducts their episodic series on Disney Plus moving forward? Whoever wants to go first on this one, you can take it away.
I got a small. I mean, I'm not smart enough to know how this show could have been better. I can't. I don't know. I loved it. I'm really high on it. The only thing I could even nitpick about it is I just wish the episodes were a little longer. I come in, I press play on the week. I'm like, oh, it's 26 minutes, and there's like 6 minutes of credits. Like, dang it. That's like the drawback to the episodic. Like, yes, I'm all in for the tentpole episodic releases, but like, give me an hour. Give me like 45 minutes. Come on, give me a little more. And again, how would that have worked? That the show would have been way different. You can't just add 20 more minutes onto an episode without putting something in there. But that's my only small complaint. Not a real spoiler, but for Winter Soldier, the first episode's pretty long, which is awesome. So I hope they stick with that. Maybe this wasn't right for the storytelling for WandaVision. And of course, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. There's sitcoms. Sitcoms were 20 minutes. They're half-hour programs with commercials. So it makes sense. That was my only nitpick, is that I just wanted more.
And this is obviously their platform. Disney owns this. They don't have to conform to anything. They don't have to conform to TV commercial timeouts, anything like that. They can make these episodes as short or as long as they want. I think Kevin mentioned this as well, to really fit the narrative and the momentum and the overall flow of the show. So that's kind of a nice thought, where I think, John, you'd agree, we give them kind of the benefit of the doubt if an episode is shorter or longer, that it just makes sense to do so. That being said, I think we'd also both say we just want more.
Exactly.
All the time.
I just only even brought that up because I was asked to have a nitpick, and I really don't have any legitimate ones.
Sure. JT, anything that you could add to the list, if at all?
Two things. One, I again ruined it myself just by having these theories that me being a comic head a little bit, and knowing House of M and the purpose of the kids, and I kept getting my own hopes up, and that didn't let me see the beauty of it. I rewatched it, and then I even liked it even more. I was like, okay, no theories in there, just go ahead and straight watch it, you'll love it. My only little real nitpick though, we didn't really find out what Hayward, or the why of what Hayward was doing, and I just don't understand how once again somebody's able to just avoid the Sokovia Accords and boom, they're a villain. You know what I mean? It's just didn't Shield go through this? Why is there an outlier in Sword already?
Yeah.
How many times are we going to see this story, right?
Yeah, their answer would be that he wanted to bring back Vision, and he wanted to weaponize and bring back Vision. That's his why behind it. But I get your that. That's pretty shallow.
Exactly. Shield. Here goes Shield's bad again. Can Sword just be good? So that's the only nitpick. Definitely. And that's not even I guess against WandaVision, is more so MCU thing more than anything.
Yeah,
so
I'd agree with that too. He was very placeholder, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought, again, for nitpicking here, which is saying a lot, that we're kind of looking for things to complain about, if you will.
Yes.
That I thought the finale was not as we mentioned earlier, it wasn't the oomph that I was hoping for, and it's fine. It was still good. It just, I try to tell myself this was not wrapping up. Though it wrapped up WandaVision, it's not like we're cutting off the story here. Think of Endgame, where it ties up everything, and it's basically, we're done for now. We can continue on, but this is it. You feel satisfied. I always think of Return of the King. It's how you finish. And with this, we didn't have that, but I don't know that we needed it. So again, that's kind of just I could have been more excited about that finale. However, when I'm talking about the first 8 episodes that preceded that finale, for me to be in that position and even think that is saying a lot, because they were so good. So that's kind of my takeaway there, where I never felt totally into the action and into what was going on. I liked what was going on with Vision against kind of his self there, or himself. where he's basically trying to out logic himself, and I thought that was all really good. But again, kind of a small gripe. I was like, yeah, it was whatever. But I'm sure I'll be in the same boat if I watch the whole series over again.
And that's with me. Like I think John's muted.
John, that's such a Zoom thing. What are you doing? Okay, here he is.
Muted. I have a hotkey. Sorry. I was just gonna say I'm just glad that they gave us an out to get more Paul Bettany. Like Vision's dead, and they're not gonna undo his death. But now we've got this blank slate Vision that it has his voice and has some memories. So we got some more Paul Bettany. I'm glad they gave us that.
I think the overall purpose of this whole thing was to end the story of Wanda and Vision. Like that was our end. We got to see that the closure of when Wanda had to kill Vision and he died again to Thanos. She finally got her closure. What happens here on forward has nothing to do with the Vision stuff. This is just her and the Scarlet Witch now, right? Like whatever happens to MCU.
Even if it does go back to that, they at least gave us closure on her grief. Like
exactly.
She never was able to deal with that. It was just on to the next, on to the next, and then she got snapped away, right? She was snapped away, right?
Right. Well, I mean, Bucky even said it himself in Falcon Winter, and just I'm not really trying to give a spoiler to you. This isn't really a spoiler, but he says specifically, I've never had time to rest.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's war. I go to sleep, I wake up, war, I die. It's the same concept for almost all these heroes.
And
right?
I guess if you think about it on a timeline level, like this was weeks after, like she had killed Vision.
Yeah.
Like after that happened, she was snapped away for 5 years. It's 5 years later for everybody else, but she was snapped away. So like this is in her eyes, like she had just killed Vision a few weeks ago. So like her coming to terms with that grief and like actually going through it, maybe months ago, whatever. But same thing.
Definitely. Yeah, good call on that. I did. I wanted to just go through a final round of. Is there anything we wanted to talk about that we didn't? So I guess my thing here would be, the Monica Rambeau stuff. Like nice tie-in to Captain Marvel with all this. A movie that I like every MCU movie to varying degrees. Captain Marvel, as you'll find out later, will not be super high on that list. For me to see something like this and to almost understand that character better and find more meaning, I think that I look almost at Captain Marvel in a different light now. That being said, I loved how it tied in. I loved that we had Darcy and then we had Jimmy. These are two characters that I really enjoyed as side characters in previous movies, and I thought they all came together to kind of make for a nice ensemble.
I actually want to, now that you brought up Monica Rambeau, I want to go back to our nitpicks. That's maybe one of my biggest ones, is that she wasn't utilized enough. I thought she was an awesome character. I thought I was hoping to get a little bit more of her powers as Photon. Like, I'm glad that we got that. That's very clearly an origin story. We're going to get more Monica Rambeau. We're going to get more Photon, but she almost didn't matter in this show. Like, what did she actually? Nothing from the outside actually mattered at the end of the day. Like, Wanda kind of made came to terms with this by herself, and with that conflict with Agatha, she kind of resolved it herself. I mean, she had a little bit of maybe some roadblocks and slowed her up a little bit from the outside, but I don't think Monica was utilized as well as she could have been. I wanted more. I wish she would have kind of like dominated all of that outside sword stuff more so than she did, but that's about it.
Gotcha.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, more of her would have definitely been a good thing. Definitely.
JT, anything else that you wanted to bring up that we had not touched on?
I'm just excited to see where it goes. To get any Marvel content, but just to be able to get something, and it's almost like WandaVision was never really supposed to be the first thing we got of the new phases, right? Sure. And I think it served as a perfect start. Even though if it was intended or not, or maybe they changed some things around to make it that way. I think Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is going to be huge for the rest of the MCU going forward, and obviously she's going to play a huge part in that. So I would say overall, I'm just excited to see where the future of the series, all the series in their own go. I want uniqueness. I want where we're not going to get exactly what WandaVision was. I would like different every single time, right? That where I feel like Falcon's going to be more action packed and stuff like that. That's cool, but hopefully everyone's not just that. So,
JT, I like your constant theme throughout this episode of theories almost not ruining, but maybe detracting from your experience a bit. I always felt like that was the Star Wars sequel trilogy's biggest issue, was all of us sitting around speculating for 2 years in between every movie, regardless of what you thought of each of 7, 8, and 9. That was always such a detractor when someone felt 8 should look this way and 9 should look that way. And it was like, just tell us your story. Let's see what happens. So I also like the thought that WandaVision was the kickoff to returning to the MCU. And I feel like that's very, very fitting that this is our episode here on the comeback for the Geekiverse. And this is what we're talking about. So those kind of go hand in hand. John, anything else before we get to revisiting the snap here? Anything that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, just the way, the final form we get, the reveal of the Scarlet Witch, and how it's more of like an entity that the Scarlet Witch has existed before, and she's kind of just coming into that role, and she was born for it. And her final form, the outfit, her swagger, like blew me away. I am so excited to see more Scarlet Witch. And I almost, to go back to that but previous point about maybe her being a villain, I hope she's not, because I want to see more Scarlet Witch as like by far the most powerful Avenger, by far the most powerful person on Earth. Like, she is insane, and that final outfit and just her, everything about that was so awesome. I just can't wait to see her again.
A little funny that we kind of almost just barely scratched the surface on her character before this series.
Right?
Like, I didn't even think that. I was just like, wow, she's awesome. She really is the most powerful Avenger. Like, she kind of helps save the day, especially as we get into some of those moments in Endgame. And
she was gonna whoop those.
She was about to
get him. So, real quick, a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Are we? This is not a theory. No theories, John.
No. It's a question.
So we see the Mind Stone in her past. When she's at the Hydra facility, right?
Yeah.
Kind of attract to her and open up something within her.
Yes.
Right.
Is that an exchange?
Are we getting mutants?
I mean, yeah.
Yes or no?
That's not a question. Kevin Feige specifically said last time they took the stage and laid out the slate, he said, and I still have to show you how we fit mutants into the X-Men or into the MCU. He literally said that. So yes, we're getting mutants, but
so she's 100% a mutant.
Well,
and Quicksilver, right?
That would make sense. Yeah, I mean, that would make. So this confirmed that her powers existed before the Mind Stone, which is huge in that theory of, is she a mutant, right? Yes. So we know that she had powers, but they were activated more so with the Mind Stone. She had latent abilities. Right. She made that Stark bomb not go off.
The whole idea of the mutant gene is it's an awakening, an opening of the gene that allows you to get your powers. So that's kind of, when that happened, I'm like,
yeah.
I was freaking out, like, it's about to happen.
I think the short answer is there's a great chance that this could be, yes, the entry to that. And it would make sense with this character because she has her roots in the X-Men series, Makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Oh, yeah, totally. I think that's a given where we're headed shortly.
I love it.
Maybe not shortly, honestly. It might not be shortly. We know it's coming up, so it might be a while, but who knows? I can see them not tackling that in Doctor Strange. I can see them more tackling like her use of magic and that kind of stuff. We'll see.
DeLorean, yeah, yep. I think so too.
I do think it's coming sooner rather than later, but I guess that is a relative term. So we'll see what that happens. Regardless, I'm excited for all.
Black Widow was supposed to come soon, Josiah. It was supposed to come soon.
Don't, John. Just don't. Well, I think that takes us to just about the end of the episode here. I would like to revisit the snap. So we talked about it earlier here. JT, in looking at our current rankings, is there anything that you would like to possibly alter via fan vote? So it takes a village, right?
I've got the rankings back up on the list. I'm gonna rattle them off one more time. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2, The Avengers. Number 3, Winter Soldier. Iron Man 3, Iron Man 2, Captain America: The First Avenger, Thor, The Dark World, all of the other movies we're going to watch, then The Incredible Hulk.
It's perfect. There's nothing we need to change. So
good, right?
With that, we'll see you Oh, sorry, JT. Go ahead.
I got something for you guys. And I think before the episode, we were talking about this, and throughout the couple weeks, we were getting ready to relaunch this thing. I'm going to surprise you guys, actually.
Oh, wow.
I'm challenging / snapping. I want Winter Soldier above Avengers.
Whoa.
Because I'm gunning for Winter Soldier to number 1.
Whoa.
That's what I'm gunning for. Winter Soldier, in my opinion, hold on. Sorry.
Go for it. All you.
Winter Soldier, in my opinion, is the best MCU movie, hands down, and nobody can tell me different.
I mean,
And I
you're wrong
want
there,
that
but
at
it's cool.
least at number 2.
So
at
Do you know
least
where I
number
stand
two.
on Winter Soldier? John, do you know my
What's that?
opinion?
No,
Do you know where I stand on it?
No,
I think
I
it is
don't know.
by far the most overrated MCU movie. Like, not even close. There's not, and I'm
Oh
not saying it's
my
bad or
God.
that it's not a good movie.
It's just overrated in a sense of how they how people hype it up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
People love it.
I'm so uncomfortable right now. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
all right.
we talked about it on the episode. I get it. I totally understand. I didn't care about Bucky, so the Bucky thing, that twist I didn't really care for that. I didn't care that much about S.H.I.E.L.D. at that point, so them being Hydra, I didn't really care about that. And, like, corporate espionage is not really my thing either. So, like, at the end of the day, it was just Cap and just the action scenes that were like, all right, this is a great MCU movie. Still love it. Not up there with the rest of them, but I get it. That's
all of those stories as a whole. I love the Hydra stuff. I was am a huge fan, and I hope there's a way to bring them into the main canon of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. So while I was watching Captain America Winter Soldier, I was watching the series as well, which was directly affected by what was going on in a way. So 100%, I am snapping Winter Soldier to number 2, and hopefully the fans vote with me.
JT, I gotta say, this is really a brilliant move on your part, especially seeing that Falcon and Winter Soldier just launched. Like, what better time to try to hype Winter Soldier than when everyone is like high on seeing this series? So kudos to you on that.
That's
but
smart.
I know
that's great.
That's absolutely brilliant, and I can see personally, from a personal standpoint, getting Winter Soldier above Avengers. However, I think Avengers is better. But last question. You said 100%. Are you sure there's nothing else on the list? So you're going with this over, which has been hotly contested in the past, as John and I know, our top 2 movies. Just a final thought.
I am not a fan of Guardians being number 1, but for pure purposes of me thinking Winter Soldier's number 1, I need to get it to number 2 at least.
This man,
that's brilliant.
So I am snapping.
He's hopping in here at episode 11, and he's gaming the system better than any of us had ever even thought to. This man is
playing the audience.
He's playing the long game. He's playing the audience. He's getting the Winter Soldier.
This whole few weeks, you guys are thinking I'm gunning for Guardians. I'm playing the little fiddle with it.
This man's gonna have Winter Soldier at 0 by the end of this thing.
So this is just, I've said brilliant a bunch of times here the last few minutes. This is JT, all right? He's like, hey John and Josiah, this is probably what I'm gonna do, and he's like, so he didn't even see it coming. Amazing. All right, well, folks, John, tell people they've got to go vote if they support JT, or if they really agree with the right decision, they'll just vote as the standings are now. But if they want to support JT and get Winter Soldier over Avengers, what do they got to do?
So you got to head over to our Twitter account. We are twitter.com @the_Geekiverse. Check the day this is posted while you're watching on YouTube. The first couple of days this is live, that poll will be up there. We're going to do it for 3 days. So if you're watching this within the first 3 days of its posting, that poll is up there. Retweet it, comment your opinions, try to get somebody famous to lobby for your side. But let's just make sure John doesn't win this, because I don't want him to take over the show.
Listen, this is a campaign, people. It is #get Winter Soldier to number 2. We got this.
I need to find somebody famous that agrees with me that Winter Soldier is not that movie, but everybody likes it with me.
It just takes one, man.
Listen, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it feels so much better watching it these next few weeks if you guys just put this at number 2. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't like this.
I don't know how to feel. I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I'm like, no, don't touch our rankings. On the second, thought here, I'm like, JT, this is a really strong first performance. So it is. I really appreciate that savviness. Folks, we're going to wrap things up here on the comeback episode of the MCU Reviewed. Lots of things to get to in the coming weeks. We're going to be talking video games again. We're really excited about that. So don't miss. We're going to have like a video game fantasy draft, like a fantasy football or fantasy hockey draft, but we're doing it with video games. So stay tuned for that. And we'll have the rest of our crew there for that. As I mentioned before, check out 26shirts.com for everything geek. You can go to the Geekiverse.com. We're on YouTube. We're on every podcast site imaginable. So wherever you listen to pods, we are there. Wrap it up here. Where can we find you on social media? And I think that's about it. I don't really have anything else to say. So, John, social media.
Yeah, and before that, just gotta say, man, it's crazy what an episode without Rashaun can be. We can have great conversations and wrap up in under an hour. That's insane. Never thought it would be possible. But social media, you can find me just about everywhere at Disruptoid, just tweeting about nonsense. You got some stupid tweets, man. I got some hot takes, but don't follow me. It's better for you if you don't.
John, it's really funny that you say that because great minds think alike. And before I came up here to record, my wife Lauren is, if you've watched these shows before, she just kind of butts in whatever. It's like she owns the place. But anyway, she said, "How long are you guys going to be tonight?" I was like, "I'd have to guess probably about an hour." She's like, "That's it." I go, "Well, Rashawn's not on the show anymore." So I was like, "He's great. He's insightful. He goes on these tangents." Rashawn, I know you're going to watch this.
He's got rants.
We love you, but yeah, man, it's just so funny that you said that without having conversed that. JT, social media.
Yeah, you can find me at John_OTS on all platforms. But more importantly, head over to youtube.com/thegeekiverse and drop that subscribe and get some people watching this thing, man. Share it as much as you can. That's huge for us.
Yeah, this time around, the Geekiverse is here. We're promoting our people. We're all about discussion and having fun, and you're gonna see that in our content as we move forward. So a little bit different from what you saw in kind of that previous iteration. On social media, I am at Josiah D. Leroy. If I could plug one thing, I'd encourage you, as JT said, go to youtube.com/thegeekiverse. Check out our Meet the New Geekiverse video. We independently, the four of us, answered questions based on geeky stuff and pop culture, and we didn't know of each other's answers prior to editing this video together, and it just came together beautifully where it looked like we're kind of attacking each other's favorites, and you would have thought that we were all just in like different rooms in the same house. So it turned out really well. We'd love for you to check that out and get to know us a little bit. For John and JT, I'm Josiah. It is good to be back. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll catch you all soon.